believe that sometimes
talking like this.
Do you believe that sometimes ladies say things that
Yes.
push the buttons?
I don't even think it's sometimes. I think if we should all be honest, it's really every time, because I think apart from a few men out
There's no justifiable reason
nope.
for physical abuse. However, you can reduce the possibility and from the lady's standpoint, by what you say.
No love is there, then how me look at it is like you're either bona fide and mentally unstable, or you have cruel intentions towards a person because something gone through the door when you can inflict somebody else.
Michelle is not big on this, but we have had to come to that agreement at points where if in the third party get that person in, somebody who is neutral, somebody who will speak unbiased. Why? Because your relationship is at stake. Maybe the two are not coming eye to eye on certain points.
And when that disagreement start for the ladies, it's like a shake-up starter, like most ladies, because the truth is I'm like that. It's like I'm not owning it that way because that is something that I'm trying to step away from, but I've been like that. So when you see the little signs, act upon it early. And don't be aggressive and try to beat down the other person who is at the weak point of such a situation, because that's when they need a patience, tender loving and care then.
Right? And so if it reaches that level, there is a point where the law will come in, whether you like it or not. And there's a point where there's a mutual separation, where in that mutual separation, you might have to sit and work out things individually. And then if it with counseling, and if it is reconcilable, then the reconciliation can take place. If it's not reconcilable, then you cannot stay in an abusive relationship. I would not tell anybody to stay in an abusive relationship.
And now for our featured presentation.
Hi everyone, welcome to another
Conversation with Elise.
Yes, it has been a while since we've been in the corner, but we are back. And so we want to welcome all our
new subscribers,
which are no longer subscribers, you are
family.
And here we guys, we're going to put a little thing to this little corner. We are going to call it, drum roll please, Conversation Release
Chat.
No.
Oh, say it with you. Oh.
No, couples corner chat.
Oh, couples corner chat.
She don't remember the thing, guys. She don't remember. Yeah. So drum roll please. Conversation Release.
Couples corner chat.
Couples corner chat. So in this little corner, is an actual literally corner, we are gonna be having only couples chat. And you know what that means. We're going to get into the business. However, before we get into the business, we're going to talk to the boss of the business. All right. We want to start off with prayer. We thought it would be necessary, a necessary addition to the conversations we have if we start out with prayer. And so we decided that we're going to do that every time we meet in the couples corner to chat. We're going to start out with prayer. So let's do that. Sovereign King, we want to thank you for this opportunity you've given unto us. We want to thank you for love. We want to thank you for life. We want to thank you, Lord Jesus, that you have enabled us to go through the experiences we have gone through, so we are best able to help others who are coming in our footsteps as married couples, as couples in general. I pray, Lord, that as we get into this topic, that will be of benefit to those who are listening. I want to thank you for healing in marriages. I want to thank you for deliverance in marriage. I want to thank you for stronger unions in marriage. And we tell you thanks in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. So, guys, tonight we want to, is recording tonight. So, and then again, because it's couples corner, most of the conversations may just be in the night. However, not all will be.
Yeah.
Whatever, as it comes.
So
All right.
it can be good morning, good night, good afternoon.
Yeah. Tonight's topic is how to prevent to prevent abuse. No, we are not professional psychologists or anything, but we understand how relationship work. We are not the perfect in it, but we have overcome a whole heap of stuff, and we can speak to it in the sense that if there are things that it can develop into something, and then as we look around in the society and we listen to other person's experience, we can put something together that somebody may need to hear at this moment in time. All right. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the meaning of the word abuse. So we're looking at the word abuse. It means use something to bad effect or for a bad purpose, misuse. All right. We're talking about abuse in relationship, our recommendations to prevent it, what are the signs you're going to see, and if it reaches to the point where it is out of hand or it becomes physical, then what you do after that. There are all sorts of abuse. There's emotional, there's physical abuse, there's mental abuse, right? So, but tonight we're going to look at physical abuse. We see in the society now where a lot of it's not like it is happening just now. It's going on a long time, but as a couple, we want to put our 2 cents to it, based on the fact that we have a following and somebody may need to hear it at this point in time. And as we say, a lot of times when Michelle and I will come up with topics, it's not just come up with topic because we just want to create a video. We actually brainstorm, and then even sometimes we pray, meditate on it, and a topic comes to our minds and we bring it to a video. All right, so first and foremost, as I say, we're looking at physical abuse, but physical abuse don't just start at physical abuse. It starts from disagreements, right? It starts from misunderstandings that are not properly settled. Yes, we find in the society that a lot of the abuse, physical abuse, comes from a man, misusing or mistreating a woman, right? But we also understand that there are cause and effect to everything. And though we're not endorsing any form of abuse, but we can still identify what are some of the things that cause or result in abuse. And let's take it for example. A lot of men in our society, a lot of us did not grow up with our fathers, didn't grow up in a home where you have mom and dad. So we didn't see how a man would treat his wife or his lady. And most of the time, that man who's our father, he probably didn't see his father treat a lady in the way she should be treated, right? Now, does that mean that you have to do the same thing? We're not saying that. But what we're saying is that oftentimes it trickles down because children do what they see, and what they see becomes a part of their life, and they grow up with it unless something comes and changes the trajectory. They come on and grow up with it. In terms of being a couple, for example, In courting, we have said in multiple videos, if persons are going to court, are going to be together, are going to court, they should, at the first instant, be completely honest with each other. Don't waste each other's time. Be honest, be open. I mean, to a point, because even in courtship, this person may not end up to be a partner. But you want to be honest at the outset. And it's about your upbringing, where you come from, how, what are the emotional things you're dealing with, if you have any, how was your family life and whatever. And get to know the other side of the family, because those can give you indication of who you're dealing with from the outset. But from a generational standpoint, as I say, sometimes these things trickle down, and you may find that the person that you're dealing with, that male, may not know how to deal with conflicts. And so a lot of men resort to physical responses in dealing with conflict rather than having a conversation. And it also speaks to the educational, sometimes the educational status. And that's why it's always important to make sure whomever you're talking to is somebody that, even if they're not bright and brilliant, but at least it's somebody who can actually, is cognizant enough to have a conversation, and who's in control of their emotions, right? So how should, in terms of a conversation, mission, and a conflict, from your point of view, how is it best handled between male and a female? Because we know that, things start from there.
First of all, there should be proper communication. And that communication would start, as you said, from courtship. I think the persons, the counselors, the ministers, whomever is in charge of these two individuals, premarital counselings. First of all, there should be persons who have a basic knowledge of how to deal with two persons from different backgrounds coming together to be as one. They should have the knowledge of knowing how to identify what are the issues that each persons have, and going into a relationship to become one. The issues that need to be identified, put on the table, and to see how best to deal with it, for healing to take place. Because as you said earlier, people go through mental situation from their own background that was not resolved. So in this counseling, these things need to be identified, because sometimes people really don't see themselves and realize this is what is happening. And so people are mostly in denial about ourselves, bottom line. And in that, now having a third party who's qualified, who knows how to identify these issues, put them on the table from both parties, and know how to deal with it in a way that the individuals, if they have not yet recognized what is their problem and what are their issues going together and how it should be dealt with, they can receive it. And they can receive it in a way, first you have to identify that, okay, we have a problem. How do we sort it? How do we go from here dealing with it? Because those issues truly need to be dealt with. Because enter into a relationship, you really need to have a stable mind, good health. And mental illness is a big thing across the world. And sometimes people go around it, but coming together as one, these things have to be dealt with. So you know how to monitor your own self going into the relationship, so both of you can learn each other. Because the truth is, whether you try yes or no, you have to learn each other. And that's why you have so much rubbing. So you can imagine going into it mentally unstable in some ways, how to deal with the issues that will arise. So even from that, why a lot of these problems happen, because people tend to go into these counseling sessions and they talk about the stuff that I think are really not so relevant. Sometimes they focus so much on the money, which you must touch on, but the greater
and the date and the how much people and the
beautiful, as Cornell said. You understand? So these counselors need to start paying attention to the signs and not being afraid to say, I am, after assessing both party, I not being afraid to say we have an issue.
Yeah.
And because the truth is, you're there to assess and to help.
Yeah.
And it is not necessary to make the people feel good. It's to be honest and it's to help. Right, so you have to let, if the two persons are not fit as yet to get married, don't be afraid just to be the person who is going to say, you know, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that, which one do you want first? Whatever. But the good news is that the situation can be fixed with help and consistency. The bad news is that I think you should postpone the wedding for a while. Yeah. So if it's 6 months, because you should be assessing. So if it's 6 months, the person need to understand, receive, and how to implement ways of getting out of the mental state of that that it's going to be abusive down the road. Deal with that, because it's only going to make the relationship better.
And the thing about it is that you can see signs of somebody being abusive. For example, in a conversation, the person is not willing to listen. If the person is short-tempered, if the person is more wanting to speak than to listen, if the person is short, well, I say short-tempered already, if they're on an edge, anxious to jump in, then those are minor signs that this person has control issues, or that this person has impatience in
them. That's what in my mind.
Right?
To hear even the bad about themselves.
And especially that, because sometimes, for example, if a counselor is brave enough, as they should be, to say to this couple, you are not ready, or there are issues that need to be ironed out, but let's give it another 3 months, let's discuss it and whatever. If you're brave enough and strong enough to say that, then that counselor is doing is helping them to look at things realistically as to the two you're coming together and what do you bring to the table.
And sorry, don't forget what you're saying. They should be brave enough, or else they're not truly qualified.
Exactly. So. Right? And when they bring it to the table now, you have to be honest with yourself and say, if it is that you love this person, and for you to go to the pastor or go to the counselor, mean that there's interest. And once you get to that stage, then there's no reason why you cannot be open and honest. And if you realize that in the open and the honesty that there are issues, then you should be willing to postpone. That's one. Two, once you realize there are issues, as Michelle said, if it can be worked out, then be willing to look at it for what it is and work on it. Because when two persons come together, there's going to be friction. When two are becoming one, there's going to be issues to be worked out. And how you deal with them from the start is going to indicate how you deal with them in the future.
Or if you're mentally capable to even, because...
And that assessment has to... No, go ahead.
Mental, and if the person is even mentally capable of dealing with the issue, as Connor was saying, the first sign to know if the person is mentally capable is how well they listen. And it's not that we're going over, but there are strong points, right? How well do they even listen, even to what the very counselor is saying,
and their responses,
even to what the significant other is even saying. Because in counseling, with a good counselor, if you have people who are being false or withholding the truth, you have, because it's a communication session, so the counselor should have ways and means to bring it out, because they should be experienced enough to see when somebody is being coy, or when somebody is going around the issues, or there is and there are certain topics they don't want to touch on. So he or she have to be meticulous enough to know the points to push and when to draw back, and how to allow certain things to come out.
All right, so let's go forward now. So you decide that you're going to get married, and you look at the issues and what you say. Let's work with the good side. What you say is something that you can work with, and if it is something that you say, okay, needs a third party counseling, whatever, and the both of you agree to work on that, then that's quite good, because there'll never be two perfect persons.
Right.
They'll come together and you're gonna work it out. The flip side of the other side is you see the signs, you ignore the counsel, and you still go get married. Watch this. When the, as old people say, when the attack claps come,
Right.
you're gonna have to deal with it. In the sense that you are now married. So one of the things that you saw during courtship, during dating, have now expanded. Because a lot of times, person during dating, they do not show you their full 100.
Right.
And that's why I always say, just be honest, be open and honest, because it's gonna come out. So they don't show them full 100 when you're dating and when you're courting. It's all fluff and nice. Mark you, if you're a realist, you will show what it is, and then the person would have an understanding of who they're dealing with and make a decision from there. All right, a decision is made. Now you have disagreements. How do you deal with the disagreements so they don't escalate into a quarrel and a fuss? Mark you, some will.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. The best way are to is not enough something to avoid, but it is rather something to deal with. Meaning, all right, if an argument pop up and it gets heated, and we have spoken about this in our videos before, where you either can walk away, ask for some time, speak less, allow the other person to vent, and if the person says, I rather not speak about it now, then you can give them some time. Sometimes I've had to learn it, because I'm one who always wanted to just do it right here and done, even in a calm way, but sometimes it may not be the right time still, and I had to learn to just easy and just chill and wait till the time is right. Now, one of the things that we have found out, even listening to people and observing, and even from our own experience, when people have disagreements, words are said that hurt. Words are said that are hurled at each other, and those words that are said can have massive impact.
Right, and it cannot be taken back.
And what you say cannot be taken back. So those, for example, somebody who is, for example, is you know that you don't even know that the person can get physical. But when you speak words, you see the level of aggression getting higher and higher and higher. At what point do you stop, Michelle? What point do you stop when you see that what you're saying is having an effect
on the person? All right. Out of life experience, at what point should you stop? Bottom line is, the point that you should stop is when you realize that the communication is breaking down. What is being said is no longer being heard or received. That's the perfect time to stop. And I'm not saying this because me perfect on it. I believe marriage is a journey and it's a school. Any relationship that is serious, that means something to you, and you really want to grow in, can go somewhere, or for the long haul, it's work. It's a process. It's a process. So, yeah, when you realize that what is being said is no longer, as I said, no longer being heard, how do you know that? When you realize that now, you really started to shout at each other, and you're getting upset to the point that at this point, I don't want to hear zero of what you have to say. That's the time to get up on yourself and said, no, this is not the way. Because at the end of the day, both of you are not enemies. And most of the time, both parties are saying even the same thing. You are not listening to me. You are misunderstanding me. And both sides normally... You're shouting. You're shouting too. You have a tone. You understand? Which those things are reality. So you realize now that people have become high-rated and the communication is no longer effective. That's the time to pull up on yourself. And as we normally say, the person then who maybe is at a point You understand?
They're most controlled.
At the most, controlling themselves. You know, it should be a thing that on a normal day when we're not good at everything, or a normal season, you talk with each other and identify, even after disagreement. I don't know if most people do it, but we try it. We come and go, and we talk with each other and said, okay, we need a red flag. We need somebody at that point who is more self-controlled, need to realize and step in and say, all right, I don't want to talk about this right now. I want to cool down, or, I'm going to stop talking. That should be identified. Mark here, sometimes the first and the second time, it may not be so. It may reach to the point where you feel, say, boy, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of us going the same route. You understand? And then afterward, you feel bad that you weren't able to control yourself. So you have to come to, the point of saying, what are we going to do about this? Because we can't keep on getting upset and shouty and everything like that at each other. Because at the end of the day, you're not each other's enemy. It's a misunderstanding, communication breakdown. So yeah, identify what the red flag is, and at that point, somebody have to step back. Somebody, you're not weak. No matter who the person is that is going to step back, it don't make you less of a person. It don't make you weak. It makes you strong, or it makes you even more powerful to that point, because somebody has to do it. If nobody do it, then it's going to escalate. It escalates, and if you don't have a strong mental, that is where this thing comes in, a thin line. And while a lot of persons, we're able to have our disagreement and step back and say, no, I'm done. There are some persons who they have not yet mastered how to know, say, nobody get physical with nobody. You have people out there. That is why we're here sitting like that, because we want to help others.
Do you believe that sometimes
talking like this?
Do you believe that sometimes ladies say things that push the buttons?
I don't even think it's sometimes. I think, if we should all be honest, it's really every time. Because I think apart from a few men out there who is able to carry on the same way, but I think that ladies tend not to have a filter. It's like when you're mad and you're upset, you're reeling it, everything comes out. Some things is from last month, 1 and 2 things is from last year, maybe last week. Because especially if you're individual, a woman that piles up things or bears, instead of speaking your mind, you withdraw. You withdraw, and you don't come back to the table and say X, Y, and Z, even when everybody is coming. If you don't do that, it is all building up. And when that disagreement start for the ladies, it's like a shake-up starter, like most ladies, because the truth is, I'm like that. It's like I'm not owning it that way, because that is something that I'm trying to step away from, but I've been like that. You understand? It's like a shake-up soda, because the last time, every time, remember, and maybe in the man mind, but I think that we had dealt with that already. So if that man is not stable enough in his mental, and it's no excuse, but as couples, you have to recognize where the situation is and how to also be a part of the solution.
So watch this then. There's no justifiable reason for physical abuse. However, you can reduce the possibility and from the lady's standpoint, by what you say. Keep being mindful of what you say, that it does have impact. As a male, you can reduce, because sometimes the women get physical too, right? Women find into them find them swing it, right? Just saying that's been our experience. But just saying, right? But you also, I found out that sometimes when your lady will say some stuff, it will hurt you, and then you may say some stuff back hurt her too, as an emotional response when you're upset. All right, you can also reduce that impact by stop talking, taking yourself out of the situation, right? If you feel like you're really getting hungry, like I have been hungry, you have to find a way. And I'm saying this because, thanks be to God, it has never reached a point where I've lost control because of a disagreement. And oftentimes, so when the disagreement ends and cool heads are there, you go through and you dissect, you find out that, listen, it all broke down from point A. And point A may just have been a miscommunication or a misunderstanding
Lack of proper
that escalated, right? But there's no excuse for a man or a woman to become abusive, right? If there are differences, and Michelle is not big on this, but we have had to come to that agreement at points where if you need a third party, get that person in. Somebody who is neutral, somebody who will speak unbiased. Why? Because your relationship is at stake. Maybe the two of you not coming eye to eye on certain points that are of mutual interest, but you don't have difference in opinion on it. You have to get somebody in. And when you get that person in, the two still have to work at it, because there's no room for physical abuse, right? But as Michelle said, and I'm just reiterating this point, ladies, watch your tongue, because what you say can have impact on your husband, on your significant other. Sometimes, for example, you may have a situation where the man is not bringing in most of the money and you are. Don't bring him, don't tear him down because he might carry less money than you. Don't make him feel less than because all right, your education status is higher than his. Don't make him feel less than.
You have to build him up, and you have to build up each other. If you find out that you're competing, first of all, I don't believe in competition in relationships.
It shouldn't have any place.
It shouldn't have any place. Whether some people say, but there's good competition. No. Where there's good, there follow evil. So when you practice, and you may not agree, but the truth is, once you start to practice certain things,
if it's a game, it's different.
If it's a game, it is fine. But it depends, because some persons are super competitive. Yeah, so it's even a game, so and the game stop abruptly. Because what? It get too serious.
Then you have to stop it.
You have to stop it. It simply means that mentals need to be checked out. Yeah. Because look at it. If you're playing a nice competitive game, then it should remain nice and competitive. And you know it's just a game. But why did it get so serious? Somebody thinking is not even as healthy or as pure.
So it's no longer a game.
It's no longer a game.
I have to win.
Exactly. And that speak loudly too.
Yeah.
So there's always a bottom and underlying issues. So when you see the little signs, act upon it early. And don't be aggressive and try to beat down the other person who is at the weak point of such a situation, because that's when they need patience, tender loving and care then. And as significant others, we are the ones, we have to be patient. Even if you're not a patient person, you have to learn it.
You have to learn. Because marriage is going to teach you to be patient.
To be patient.
You're not perfect. Both of you are not perfect, so you're going to have be patient with each other. And if you do that, you're going to eventually have a more tenderness, a more care, a more thoughtful process in your head, how to approach certain things, how to deal with certain things, and then you become less offensive to each other.
And the banter, and it starts sometimes, even rubbing shoulders sometimes, even in the country, right back to things that you hear, when you get to know a person's comfortable enough, sometimes the way in which they banter with each other, it gets out of hand. And even sometimes people say, no man, I saw them play. But sometimes when you watch body language, being the person on the outside, and you watch the body language of one of the persons out of the two that is having the banter, you as an outsider can see that Is not, you understand?
plaything,
It's not a plaything. And I think that as couples, if we can, even if you love to banter, be observant of how it's being received by the other person. Sometimes not because they may choose not to say anything, it don't mean that they may not hurt by it. So you have to start watching certain things and catch up on yourself. So say for instance, you have a friend, you have to go back and reassure them.
Yeah.
You understand?
So what if it reaches a point where physical abuse is now the norm? All right, it happened once and you talk it over and you forgive and you move on. It happened another time, and as Christians you want to be like, follow the scriptures and forgive. All right, you forgive, but it happens a third time. All right, if you get somebody involved to talk and have a discussion, and it happens, then it is. I'm not going.
It's habitual.
I cannot tell you say, oh, wait till 5 times, wait till 3 times. I think the very first time it happens.
The first time is a red flag.
The very first time it happens, it should be dealt with, right? But the truth is, as Christians, we have to forgive, we have to heal and move on. But I don't think it should go beyond 2 or 3 times at the most, because if that person now has that habit to lay hands on you, that means it was something from, and that's why we talk about it at the start. Sometimes what has been happening to them from a child, and they grow up doing learning it, whether they have been abused or they are the abuser. You understand me? And they now carry it in the relationship because of how they respond when they reach a certain height of being upset, right? And so if it reaches that level, there is a point where the law will come in, whether you like it or not. And there's a point where there's a mutual separation, where in that mutual separation, you might have to sit and work out things individually. And then if it, with counseling, and if it is reconcilable, then the reconciliation can take place. If it's not reconcilable, then you cannot stay in an abusive relationship. I would not tell anybody to stay in an abusive relationship, right? But if it is something that can do all that you can to work it out, do all that you can to help the person fix themselves, because sometimes it is something that is of a mental situation that can be healed, that can be fixed.
Exactly.
With prayer, with time, with counseling, with patience, right? But if it's a situation where the person is unwilling to even come to counseling, unwilling to even say I'm sorry, unwilling to try, unwilling to see themselves, then you cannot stay in that abusive relationship.
You know, I think that before the first leak or whatever physical form is being demonstrated, before that happened, I honestly believe that there was some other sign of mental abuse that took place before. Most of the time, it's either by speech or it's either by action in another form.
Yeah.
And I think what ladies need to do when you see it happen, because you must know the person here that you're married to and everything, but when you see it reach to a point wherein it's really, really serious, that form of abuse that take place, maybe it's a form of, it may not be hitting, but it can be even in the sense of the action being carried out in another way. It can be maybe on goods, your things, but it's in a real morbid way that the person misuse.
Mash it up.
Yeah.
Kick everything off for the dresser.
Yeah. It's in a morbid way that the person have misused you, your trust, whatever. That's the time you should pay attention, because the truth is, when that happen as human being, there is even a red light, a red flag, or something that happen inside. So you have to take note of it, internalize it, see how to go about it. Try, after everything is well, talking to the person about it. And when you talk to the person about it, according to how they receive it, then should you get outside help? And if they refuse to get outside help, I would say travel with caution. Travel with caution about it, because then you would have some serious decision to make, or you then will have to take a stand as to how to deal with this person going down the road, and internalize if that's the way you want to live your life or something. But I believe that when that abuse is taking place, like a serious whooping or broken up or something, whatever it is, whatever, I think that there should not be another time, because in most instances the next time people die.
Yeah, stuff happens.
Stuff happen that cannot fix in those physical things. So whilst I'm not going to be here to tell you or anybody when to call it a day or to pack it up, on a personal, like for instance, I always say, if I will instruct my daughter, if a man raise them hand and to hit you, I will instruct my daughter, no, this is not the place for you. I will. I'm being honest.
Especially that's the first response. From him, not to talk but to hit.
I would honestly say, this is not the place, because the next time I don't want to bury her. You understand? And if I will say that to my daughter, and I have a friend, if I should love my friend as much as I, even care for my own child. So if you're my friend, if you really don't want my opinion.
Yeah, but that's so like you're trying to coerce them to accept your opinion still.
No,
but
no,
I guess
they
you're
don't
saying,
have to. But
you're
I'm saying
that.
Yeah, because I'll be telling you the same.
Yeah. Just what you tell your daughter, you tell her.
Yeah.
But it's still up to them to make a decision.
Yeah, because relationship is a lovely thing, but it is a fragile thing. Trust is a fragile thing. And you have ladies who can understand, like, if a man maybe unfaithful and willing to change, and it's fixable, man. It's fixable. But can you imagine, as two adults, whether the man or woman, because some women do that too.
Yeah, some women are aggressive.
Yeah,
and become abusive.
And whichever the party decides to do that, it reach to the point that you lick a big person, you lick another adult, or misuse, meaning ill treat, because you're going with the motive that no love is there. Then how me look at it is like you're either bona fide mentally unstable, or you have cruel intentions towards a person because something gone through the door when you can inflict somebody else.
All right.
That.
Another point, the last point I want to touch on is, how do you handle those abusive situations as relates to the internet and social media? In the era that we live in, everything is posted, everything has a picture, everything has a video, and it is uploaded to Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or TikTok or Snapchat, whatever they be. I would advise not to do that. Because, and I'm talking both male and female, I would not advise you to go and post everything that you go through on the internet.
You should never.
Reason why, there's always, especially Christians, there's always an opportunity that God can help you fix the situation. Whatever you've posted, though you can delete, it will still leave a mark on somebody's mind who's watching, whatever. If it is that you use it for education purposes, wherein you are using it and say, you know what, like how we're talking about it, and you go through an experience and you say, my husband was abusive, or my wife was abusive, and this is how we worked it out. Mm-hmm. That's different. But for you to have an argument tonight and next morning upon social media, for you to have a disagreement, and even if it gets physical and you're going to post that, I would not advise that, because, as I say, what you post will leave an impression on everybody else, even
unless
if you
it's in a situation where cry help, if nobody believes.
Right.
That's just an education now.
Right. Or right, so is a admission a cry for help. That's a total different thing. But if you have a disagreement and something happens, it's not the best thing to do. Because even if you try to make reconciliation, I don't know. Although sometimes some things we post so bad turn out for good enough, because even though you post it also can help you to.
Yeah, so it depends
go
on
back
the
and
situation,
speak,
to
right.
be honest. For persons who is just trying to be vindictive now, maybe it's a whole different case.
Yeah.
You know, because you have some persons do things and at that, like they weren't thinking,
Yeah.
they just want to hurt back the person.
Yeah.
That's not the place. That's not what social media is
Because
for.
99% of those times when you're reading vindictive and you work it out, you feel bad afterwards, because you know that you just tarnish somebody's
So think before
character.
you do those things.
So it's important to think about it. All right. So we're gonna stop here. We will have a part 2 because there's a lot more things to say about this. But the things that we are pointing to is this: be honest from the get-go. Speak your truth. Let the person see who you are for who you are. If they accept it, they accept it. If it is that you have issues that need to be sorted out, number 2, if you have issues that need to be sorted out, when you're in counseling and they're identified, you need to work on yourself first. Nobody must enter a marriage without at least understanding themselves. Work on yourself.
Know who you are.
Know who you are, so that you can present yourself as you know it to be. And if there's something that needs to be worked on, then be honest with yourself and work on it. If you're married now, number 3, if you're married and you see signs of abuse, don't ignore them.
Right.
Have a conversation. If the person is not willing to have a conversation, then you need to if you can't let's say no, have point blank, get a third person, get a third party in it. That way the conversations can be had, can be put on the table, and an amicable situation is worked out, right? If it is that and number 4 rather, when you are having disagreements, ladies and gentlemen, be mindful of what you are saying to each other, because what you say can have adverse effect. But especially the ladies tend to use their tongue and just say anything that comes to them up, and it has effect. Not that we're not condoning.
But it's not an excuse for anybody to lick anybody.
For anybody to put them on anybody.
There's no children there.
No children in the relationship, in a marriage. It's only adults. So there should be no hand putting on anybody. Number 5, if it gets to the point that it's irreconcilable, then you have to then go do a separation, work on it work on it separately. If it is that it cannot be reconciled, then you have to just call it a day, because you should not live in an abusive situation.
Yeah.
The other number 6, if it is that you have disagreements, don't be quick to post everything that you have disagreement with or about. Even if it's a physical thing, don't be quick to do that. Notwithstanding, if you're crying out for help because you're in it and there's nobody wants to
then it's fine.
Then it's fine.
Post all you want, because people need to come in and rescue.
And need to rescue. All right. So we hope what we have said will help. As we said, we may not have it every single point. We may have a part 2, who knows. But we are saying marriage is a beautiful thing created by God, and it is the enemy of our souls who wants to destroy that, right? And we're not talking as 2 perfect beings. We're talking about talking as 2 persons who have been through 23 years. This year we make 24 years of marriage, and have been through a whole lot of disagreements, but we are still standing. Why? Because we really care for each other. We genuinely do. And that is why we are saying to you, it can be sorted. Abuse is not something to be tolerated, but it can be fixed. It can be worked on if both parties are willing to be honest with each other and to work at it together. All right? It's a long video-ish, but I hope it's helpful. So, just for those if you reach this far in the video, drop a like. You don't take it long. You just hit the like button, and if you're new here, subscribe. And if you listen to the entire thing, you can now send it to somebody who you know needs to hear, because that's what we're here for, to help each other. Until Christ comes, we're here to help each other along the journey. All right? Any last words?
Basically,
short.
Yeah. Someone in situation like this, the end result is that from your God show you that you're no longer safe, in the presence or with such an individual, you should follow your gut and seek help. Because the gut don't steer you wrong.
You got the online. Alright? So until next live, until next upload, we're saying life is worth living.
So live it through Christ.
Have some fun at the same time. Alright? God bless. See you in the next one. Blessings.